So this past weekend, here in South Florida, we had the first hurricane of the season. It didn't make landfall down here, but it did bring wind and rain. Saturday night was the worst effects of the storm. There was, of course, winds and some rain. Winds were probably, top speed was probably about 40 miles per hour in this area, so that's not huge. And interestingly, the rain that we've had in the last half hour here this morning, which is Monday, has exceeded the total for when the hurricane was closer to us. Just crazy. You never know which band is going to come across your area, but apparently there's one little band that is impacting us here now. But anyway, Sunday morning, after the worst of the winds had passed, I walked around the farm with my camera and took a little video just to show you what happened. I had no idea what was going to be out there, so here's the video. So we just had a Category 1 hurricane pass over. Right now we're in the calm part of the storm, and the worst winds were last night. I have no idea what might have happened. I had no time to prepare anything, and so we'll just have to hope that we don't have much damage. So here we go. Very fortunate that the winds weren't stronger. I didn't even lay down any pots. Of course, a few papaya hit the ground, no big deal. So fortunately we're at the end of the season, so there are not a lot of fruit that could have been knocked off the trees. With a Category 1, that's pretty much the main effect a lot of times. And of course, we've done a lot of tree trimming. In fact, a lot of these new leaves on these trees have come since we trimmed them. Keeping the trees short certainly helps reduce the damage from any sort of strong wind. This was one I was worried about because I cut out the center part of the tree, and if you have a full canopy it helps protect the tree, but it seems like we were okay. Well, late yesterday I cut back a lot of these ends so that there wasn't as much to press against or push against for the wind, but that tree is looking good, so that's a good thing. There are 7 15-gallon and 25-gallon trees. Just 2 of them were knocked over. One 15-gallon and one 25. this side of the grove, of course, most of these trees have been trimmed already, so just basically no damage on the trees themselves. And check out some of the trees that actually have fruit on them to see what might have happened there. We have a couple of Kent trees, a few fruit on those. I don't see any on the ground. This is pettigrew, and we do have some fruit on the ground. There's not much on the trees. Most of the season is past already on pettigrew. I was trying to pick as much fruit as possible yesterday. I saw a couple of small fruit. This is the Jakarta tree. Oh, there's one small fruit still. And apparently one got knocked to the ground. Not a big deal. It's just interesting that, this small fruit had different outcomes there. This is a small Valencia pride tree. Of course, being closer to the ground helps a lot for fruit not getting knocked off the trees. This is a much larger Valencia pride here, but it didn't have very much fruit on it to begin with. I was picking whatever needed to be picked that I saw yesterday afternoon, and obviously I didn't get everything, but there wasn't much to get. So anyway, I guess that's good news. Oh, here we go with Palmer, and with the Palmer tree, most of the fruit on the top has already been picked. It was a slightly different season, and I'm seeing several that are ready to pick, and they did not get knocked off by the wind. Just had, let's see, looks like 2 fruits that were knocked by the wind. So certainly not a terrible outcome so far for the grove. Of course, here's some evidence of trimming. That's our Ryan tree, and just trying to keep that under control. There were no fruit on it when we trimmed it, so no fruit lost. No fruit on these trees, so very few trees that have fruit, so I'm not really expecting to find much fruit on the ground. I'm just hoping that the trees in the shade house are okay. Just recently reinforced the shade cloth. It had been coming down, and so it actually makes the screen far less likely to get damaged if you have it tied to the poles securely. So that looks like good news. So of course the little seedlings are fine, but it looks like we have some of the larger plants toppled over. Not a lot in the shade house right now. Got a transition period for it. But yeah, not bad at all. Actually, I'm not even going to pick this tree up because of the winds that are still happening. Just wait until after the winds die down completely. If we had been expecting a very bad hurricane, we would have laid down all the potted plants beforehand. But fortunately, this particular hurricane, was only a Category 1, and we were not on the strong side of the storm. So yeah, all these other branches is just evidence of recent trimming. Keep trimming. It lasts for about a month or a month and a half to get through all the trees in the grove, and for some of them we have to wait for the fruit to be off. A lot of them, of course, have been out of fruit for a long time, but yeah, it looks very good. I'm glad that there's no unexpected damage. The last thing that I wanted to check, though, is my new grafts for that ice cream mango project. I don't think there's going to be damage, but I'll have to check on that. Yeah. So here we go. That's a nice stage of growth. The leaves are not too big, so there wasn't as much for the wind to press against. And so it looks like, and this, of course, was the one that had the most growth, but even before the hurricane, that was snapped off. We've got new growth here, and where's that last one? But yeah, oh, here we go. This is right in front of me. Yeah, lovely growth on that. So right here. So that experiment has not been affected at all. And so that is very good news. So we're going to just get some more winds going on for a while, but nothing out of the ordinary. We get stronger winds on a lot of thunderstorms. Just looking at the tarp roof here, it definitely has been, flopping around, but we have the web tape to try and keep it from moving up too much. So hopefully all those grommets are still intact, and that we get, another year or so out of the tarps. Yeah, really can't complain. We have very, very little damage, and so I don't expect to have anything else happen. The most tender growth is the new growth, especially on plants, they've been cut back for top working.
but a lot of those plants, like this is one of them where we've cut back half of the plant, the tree, and the sprouts have not yet emerged. So I like to graft onto the sprouts, but those young sprouts really get broken off very easily by the wind. Fortunately, this particular tree didn't have time to sprout out yet, so all sorts of good news around the grove here. So if the hurricane was in your area, I hope you have had a similar outcome and, with very little or no damage. Anyway, have a wonderful rest of the weekend.